It began as a routine political panel, one of many that former President Donald Trump had participated in since leaving office. Jasmine Crockett, a rising political force known for her sharp intellect and unapologetic stance on racial and social justice, was also invited. From the outset, the conversation was tense but polite. They were discussing economic policies and infrastructure when Trump veered into cultural commentary, lamenting the loss of traditional values in modern politics. He cited what he described as a lack of work ethic among younger politicians, and made a dismissive gesture toward Jasmine. She raised an eyebrow, but let it slide, continuing her point about equitable access to education and job opportunities. Then Trump chuckled, and with an air of offhand superiority muttered, "Why don't you just go cook or something?" The studio fell into an eerie silence. For a second, it was unclear if the remark had landed the way he intended. Some of his supporters snickered quietly, but the expression on Jasmine's face shifted from composed to resolute in a heartbeat. Jasmine leaned forward, eyes locked on Trump with a calm intensity that made the entire room sit up straighter. "You want me to go cook?" she repeated, voice measured but sharp. "The only thing I've been cooking lately is legislation to keep people like you from stripping rights from women and minorities." A few gasps were audible. Trump blinked, momentarily stunned by the clarity and speed of her response. Jasmine didn't stop there. "While you were on reality TV, playing billionaire, I was in law school working 2 jobs and passing the bar exam," she continued. "I don't cook for clowns, sir. Serve facts, hot and fresh." The crowd began to murmur. The atmosphere, electric. Trump opened his mouth to interject, but Jasmine raised a finger without raising her voice. "You had your turn? Now let me finish," she said, channeling the very authority he once tried to deny her. What had been a clumsy attempt at insult now had the entire panel fixated on what she would say next. Within minutes, the clip was trending online. The moment was cut and reposted with captions like, "Jasmine destroys Trump in 12 seconds," and "Watch him freeze after this." The virality wasn't just because of the insult itself, it was about the dignity with which Jasmine dismantled it. She didn't yell. She didn't get rattled. She simply exposed the smallness of the comment for what it was, and people were hungry for that kind of unapologetic clarity. Online users began sharing personal stories about moments when they, too, had been told to go cook or stay in their place. Jasmine's response became a rallying cry, a line drawn in the sand that resonated beyond party lines. Political commentators who were usually hesitant to criticize, Trump admitted he had crossed a line and been completely unprepared for the pushback. In contrast, Jasmine emerged not just as a politician, but as a voice of the moment, composed, focused, and utterly commanding. Political analysts began dissecting the exchange on air, replaying the clip in slow motion to highlight the exact second Trump realized his misstep. Body language experts commented on how his confident smirk faded, his shoulders tensed, and his eyes dropped from Jasmine's as she spoke. Some speculated that he had underestimated her, thinking a gendered jab would go unanswered. But Jasmine wasn't there to entertain stereotypes. She was there to break them. No, one commentator said that wasn't just a comeback, that was a dismantling. Others pointed out that the moment captured the deep frustration many women, especially women of color, feel in professional spaces where their intelligence is dismissed or overshadowed by casual sexism. Jasmine had taken a moment meant to humiliate and flipped it into a declaration of power. And what's more, she did it in just 12 seconds. Support poured in from across the country. Hashtags like Jasmine Cooks Facts and Frozen in 12 began. Trending activists, celebrities, academics, and ordinary citizens tweeted their support. Some wrote poems, others made artwork. Someone even created a remix of her response, turning it into a viral audio clip set to music. Late-night hosts picked up the story, delivering monologues that praised Jasmine's poise and mocked the outdated mindset that fueled Trump's comment. Even some conservative viewers privately admitted they were impressed by how she handled the situation. Meanwhile, Jasmine remained humble in interviews, stating, "It's not about me clapping back. It's about defending the right to exist in spaces that weren't built for people like me and refusing to be silenced." Her words struck a chord with millions, proving that authenticity and grace under pressure were more powerful than arrogance and provocation. In the following days, Jasmine saw a dramatic uptick in media requests, donations to her campaign, and invitations to speak at universities, conferences, and political events. Yet, she chose her appearances carefully, making it clear that she wouldn't turn the moment into a publicity stunt. "I didn't come here to go viral," she said in one televised interview. "I came here to work." That attitude only endeared her further to those who admired her integrity. Meanwhile, Trump's camp scrambled to do damage control. The spokesperson released a vague statement claiming the comment was taken out of context and was meant as a light joke. But few bought it. The original clip spoke louder than any press release. It wasn't just about one sentence, it was about a mindset, long history of undermining and minimizing voices like Jasmine's. And this time, that mindset had been called out in front of millions. In political circles, the moment sparked deeper conversations about how women, and particularly black women, are treated in public discourse. Lawmakers across the aisle were pressed for their thoughts. Some tried to dodge the question, while others, including some Republicans, quietly acknowledged the inappropriateness of Trump's comment. Jasmine, however, didn't let the momentum become purely reactive. She used her platform to redirect attention toward policy issues, particularly those affecting marginalized communities. Her team released a video detailing her legislative goals, which received more engagement than any content she had posted before. It became clear that people weren't just watching because of a viral moment. They were listening because she had something to say. Jasmine had not only stood up to a former president, she had earned the respect and attention of a nation. Educators began using the moment as a case study in communication, resilience, and poise under pressure. Classrooms from high schools, 2 universities played the clip, asking students to write reflections on how identity intersects with power and speech. Jasmine even received thank you letters from students, who said they finally saw someone who looked like them holding their own against someone who had long loomed over political discourse. One 14-year-old wrote, "I want to speak up now, because I saw you do it without fear." The emotional impact of her words was real. Jasmine hadn't just won an argument, she had shifted something in the cultural atmosphere. And she had done it with a single sentence, delivered with fire, but without venom. That balance, that ability to remain unshaken while speaking truth, became her superpower in the eyes of many. As media coverage continued, some tried to frame Jasmine as an angry black woman, a stereotype that has long been weaponized to diminish valid emotion. But Jasmine, ever articulate, addressed the trope directly in an op-ed she published days later. "I'm not angry," she wrote. "I'm focused. And if my tone disrupts your comfort, maybe it's not me who needs to change." The essay was widely circulated and applauded, drawing attention to the double standards women of color face in leadership. The message was unmistakable. Jasmine wouldn't be boxed in or silenced, and those who tried to define her through the lens of their own bias were in for a surprise. She wasn't just reacting to one ignorant comment. She was building a movement rooted in voice, visibility, and unapologetic presence. Looking back, what started as a careless, condescending remark became a defining moment not just for Jasmine Crockett, but for anyone who has ever been told to shrink themselves to make others comfortable. She didn't just stand up for herself, she stood up for countless others whose voices are often talked over, ignored, or dismissed. Trump may have tried to belittle her with a line rooted in misogyny, but Jasmine met it with the full force of intelligence, purpose, and strength. And in that 12-second response, she didn't just shut him down, she lifted others up. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do when someone tries to reduce you is to rise in full view. Speak your truth clearly and leave them frozen, not in fear, but in realization that they just witnessed real power in action. In the aftermath, late-night comedians joked that Trump had finally met someone he couldn't outtalk or outshine, and that 12 seconds of Jasmine's clarity had undone 12 years of his bluster. Memes flooded the internet showing Trump, frozen mid-expression, overlaid with Jasmine's cutting one-liner. But amid the humor, there was also a profound sense of vindication for those tired of the same old power dynamics. Commentators on both ends of the political spectrum noted that Jasmine's response signaled a changing era, one in which quick wit, confidence, and emotional intelligence were overtaking outdated bravado. The confrontation became symbolic of a larger societal shift where respect couldn't be demanded through status alone. It had to be earned through behavior. And in that moment, Jasmine had earned the admiration of people far beyond her district or party. Trump, known for doubling down in such moments, remained unusually quiet for a few days after the broadcast. Some speculated his advisors warned him not to fuel the fire. When he finally spoke, it was during a rally where he vaguely referred to being ambushed by political correctness. But the damage was already done, like previous times when he brushed off backlash. This time, the tide was different. It wasn't just liberals or activists criticizing him. It was suburban voters, working-class parents, young conservatives, and independent women who found Jasmine's response not only justified but inspirational. They didn't see it as political. They saw it as personal. No one wanted their daughters or wives spoken to like that on national television. In trying to diminish her, Trump had accidentally elevated her to a national icon. Jasmine's team didn't rest on the viral fame. Instead, they swiftly pivoted to fundraising for education, equity, and women's leadership initiatives. Her office released a statement saying, "We appreciate the support, but let's turn this moment into a movement." Donations poured in, not just from Texas, but from all over the country. Community centers, nonprofits, and even church groups invited her to speak. Her schedule filled up fast, but she remained grounded, often repeating the phrase, "This isn't about me, it's about what we all deserve." People were listening, and for the first time in a long while, it felt like a new kind of leadership was stepping into the national spotlight, one not built on shouting over others, but on speaking truth with dignity and conviction. The moment also inspired a wave of women, especially young Black and brown women, to consider running for office or applying for leadership roles they had previously shied away from. Jasmine became a case study in countless women's empowerment workshops, political science courses, and community forums. Parents showed their children the clip. Teachers used it to spark discussion about bias and professionalism. One school even created a leadership award in her name. Jasmine, for her part, remained humble, stating in an interview, "If one girl decides she's worthy of being heard because of that moment, then it was worth it." Her words echoed long after the segment aired, not as a clapback, but as a clarion call for courage. By the end of the month, Jasmine Crockett was no longer just a freshman congresswoman from Texas. She had become a symbol of resistance, of integrity, of voice. While Trump continued his usual circuit of interviews and rallies, his jab at Jasmine remained one of the few moments that hadn't gone his way. Her 12-second response had turned into a timeless example of what it means to hold your ground with grace. In a world where shouting often drowns out meaning, Jasmine proved that you don't have to raise your voice to raise the bar. In doing so, she didn't just silence a former president, she reminded an entire nation of the power of being unapologetically prepared.